Transparency group Project Veritas has exposed what it claims is a series of tools used by Facebook to target conservative pages and restrict their content without warning. Now, they include classing posts as hate speech, limiting live streams and suppressing the reach of posts. Here's the whistleblower that exposed the case.
I handled copyright and trademark claims, and in the course of doing my duties, I noticed other things that were going on accounts, and that is why I came forward. I would see it appear on several different conservative pages.
But what exactly did the former Facebook employee find? I spoke to our correspondent Nikki Aaron for more. What has been revealed here?
Well, this whistleblower is alleging to have uncovered what she described as methods of suppression being used by Facebook, tools that would deboost the traffic of accounts considered to be of a conservative leaning, meaning that their followers wouldn't receive notifications whenever these pages, these accounts, update their profiles. In some cases, content was allegedly removed without even letting the users know. Now, this insider, who formerly worked in the intellectual property department of Facebook, just stumbled across these goings-on, she said, when she noticed some unusual goings-on with some accounts.
First, I was wondering whether this is something that I had, a couple working theories. I was like, maybe this is an independent versus mainstream thing. Maybe independent figures on the left are experiencing the same kind of deboosting. But I didn't see that. I looked at the Young Turks page. I looked at Colin Kaepernick's page. None of them had received the same deboost.
But she's not the only one that's coming out with similar allegations. There's another Facebook employee who has exposed how such tools are being applied to certain accounts that Facebook deems to be offensive or contain hate speech.
But all these, on the conservative side of things, Nikki.
Yeah, all
right?
these.
That's what she's pointing out, isn't it? There's a lot of stuff being said on the left that is not involved in these posts. Is that essentially what she's saying? It's all one-sided.
Exactly, and Facebook is tagging certain posts that it doesn't particularly like with terms such as offensive and hate speech,
right.
but these terms are being used really broadly.
Things that aren't actually hate speech, but that might offend somebody. Anything that is perceived as hateful, even though no court would define it as hate speech.
Now, if these allegations are proven to be accurate, it would be another blow for the Facebook name, especially seeing how it contradicts what the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, told Congress when he said he didn't want his company acting on the political ideology of content. We have reached out to Facebook for a comment on these alleged deboosting tools. They haven't got back to us so far. Yeah,
he also said they were going to clamp down, though, didn't he, after the 2016 election? So it's conflicting kind of comments from Mark Zuckerberg, it seems. His point would be, though, how do we know these claims are actually credible when they're going out into the press? It is a whistleblower. How do we know she's telling the truth?
Right, well, we do know that she definitely did work for Facebook because although Facebook didn't get back to us, they did respond to another media outlet who they told that she must have been a disgruntled former employee. So we know she definitely worked for them. And they say that she was fired when they found out she was working with Project Veritas.
What she brought out has been verified that this is happening on the conservative side of things. That's what we know.
Well, it wouldn't be surprising because it's not the first time a social media giant has been outed by Project Veritas as well. Last year we had the allegations with Twitter when Project Veritas released undercover footage of Twitter employee staff appearing to admit to silencing conservatives. They were saying how they used algorithms to bury particular tweets of certain users.
Thousands of them, weren't they, as
well? Exactly. So users weren't seeing what these particular people were posting because they were being buried by these algorithms. Twitter at the time denied any complicity in the actions of its staff. But the most worrying thing here is that it exposes this impression that these social media giants like Facebook and Twitter that so many of us use pretty much on a daily basis could have political leanings, and that has serious implications for free speech.
20 years ago, Nikki, it wouldn't have been that important because it didn't have so much import in the lives of young people. There's millions of people becoming voters, 16 and 18-year-olds, and they put a lot into social media. So this is why it's becoming a huge issue, isn't it? We're not going to hear the end of this for some time.
Indeed, the power of social media.
Well, in an example of how Facebook is clamping down, it's now banned British anti-Islamic activist Tommy Robinson from the platform and on Instagram as well.
When ideas and opinions cross the line and amount to hate speech that may create an environment of intimidation and exclusion for certain groups in society, in some cases with potentially dangerous offline implications, we take action. Tommy Robinson's Facebook page has repeatedly broken these standards, posting material that uses dehumanizing language and calls for violence targeted at Muslims. He has also behaved in ways that violate our policies around organized hate.
Robinson's ban fired up the online community. Many are concerned that the move is a politically motivated step to censor free speech. Others praise the ban as a measure to target hate speech. Well, it comes after social media companies stepped up efforts to block content deemed as offensive. But as our guests argue, there's a fine line between free speech and online censorship.
When you join social media networks, you agree to the terms and conditions which those companies set out. And it's very clear that he's deliberately and on numerous occasions misused the terms and conditions. He's been given warning after warning.
The reasons that Facebook gave for this ban are all drawn in very vague language. There's very few specifics about exactly which conduct crossed the line in terms of their community guidance. Facebook, Twitter and social media is the new public sphere. It's a place where people interact, argue, share content and share ideas. And if the public square is good for anything, it's good for challenging and dealing with arguments. I think that inevitably brings with it certain obligations to stand up and defend freedom of speech.
Well, it's not about freedom of speech. I mean, with freedom of speech comes responsibility. So if you want to criticise and question Islam and Muslims, then that's okay in a free society. But what isn't acceptable is to hold every single Muslim responsible for the actions of a small minority of terrorists.
I think this censorship, which does seem to be targeted against people who hold particular opinions, is so damaging because it undermines that public role that private companies are playing.
So in the last 48 hours, I've had probably 2,000, 2,500 comments on my public Facebook page. I've had messages, I've had death threats. That's all been done by people on Facebook. So the idea that Facebook is silencing the far right is laughable. What Facebook is doing is saying, if you peddle hate and lies about a community, then action will be taken, and that's what's been done.
When you read the Facebook reasons for banning him, they're drawn in very vague and unparticular language, which I think should make any defender of free speech very uncomfortable.